We are going to discuss about the action that the Supreme Court has taken against Senior Counsel Abdul Nasir, the Grand Mulla. But before I start talking about it, allow me to say something unrelated to the topic. Americans have started their general election, and among the first recordings I had were of various constitutions, especially the American Constitution. So I'll ask you to scroll down and see how the American Constitution works, so that when you see the international press talking about the elections in the US, you will understand. Now back to Abdul Nasir, Senior Counsel, Grand Mulla, and the Supreme Court. I nearly said that the Supreme Court was the complainant, the arresting officer, the investigating officer, the prosecutor, the judge, and the executor. But now I'll say they are the complainant, not arresting officer, but complainant, investigator, prosecutor, judge, and executor. The accused person did not participate in the deliberations, and it is even possible that he was not even aware that such a deliberations was going on. He was not notified. He was never granted a chance for mitigation, and he was not given any right of appeal. That is misjustice. When we brought in the 2010 Constitution, we brought in the Judicial Service Commission to address some of the issues that, if my memory serves me right, they happened twice before. There is a radio announcer, I think it's a Kikuyu by tribe, I've forgotten his name, whom a judge ordered that he be arrested. He was arrested and taken to the same court, and the judge jailed him without a fine, without giving him an option of bail, without even giving him an option of fine. We also had another case where David McCarley, once served jail term because of what he had written. He had written some information that did not please the then Court of Appeal. I'm saying Court of Appeal, the then Court of Appeal, because at that time the highest court was the Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal was not happy with what he did. They then sentenced him and fined. They were sentenced to David McCarley and I think somebody, a journalist called Bedan or something, a name like that. When we brought in this 2010 Constitution, it addresses conflict of interest. You see, it is unfair for someone who feels wronged to act as even the judge or anything. He should, if he's a complainant, he should step aside. We remember, I think you can remember, there are some things someone does without, unknowingly, and it affects. You see, our judicial system is that one of setting precedences. You remember the ICC case. When Uhuru Kenyatta was going to the ICC, he temporarily stepped aside and handed over power to William Ruto. So when this one has set aside that, although it is not written in the constitution, but it now sets aside a situation where if you are a constitutional officer and you feel you are wronged and you want to defend yourself in your personal capacity, then you step aside for the duration of that case. Uhuru Kenyatta started that. You'll find that the same Uhuru Kenyatta, when he brought in the BBI, I will not go into the BBI into detail because it is a long story that requires its own recording. But one of the findings was that it was a bit different for anybody to differentiate ID number, blah, 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 Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and His Excellency, Honorable Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces. So he was told in the BBI case that if he would have wanted to pursue the case of BBI, he should have stepped aside as a president and become a civilian, and then for the duration of the BBI, once the BBI is over, then he comes back if he wanted to initiate it in his personal capacity. I don't want to continue in the BBI. I'll find time to talk about it later, probably. I would want to say that if the judges in the Supreme Court felt wronged, because up to now, I do not know, and I'm not even aware, whether that judgment was for all of them, or some of them, or most of them. But it doesn't matter whether it was for all of them, majority of them, or some of them. But it would have been that for those judges who, whether they were all of them, most of them, or some of them, who felt wronged by Senior Counsel Grand Mulla, they should have stepped aside and let the court do their work. Become ordinary people, so that when the judgment is made against the Grand Mulla, then they come back to their work. They could not be the complainant and do the action. In fact, most of us, it is even possible that the Grand Mulla himself only knew of that sitting when he was served with the finding. We have several ways which, according to me, that the Supreme Court would have taken. They would have taken the case to a constitutional court. They would have taken it to the Judicial Service Commission, or they could even, Grand Mulla is a lawyer. They would have reported to the Law Society of Kenya, so that when the Law Society of Kenya decides that the Grand Mulla was wrong, they could revoke his license either temporarily or permanently as per their findings. So these things, the judicial service was wrong. I have seen many of his tweets. I have seen a few of his other social media recordings. they have not been good. He has been commenting on ongoing cases, which is against his profession. But the Supreme Court walked into a trap, especially at a time when the executive was attacking them. The executive was attacking them, and there they came. And you see, now they are being seen to be vindictive. They are even showing, for you to be a judicial officer, you are supposed to be out of Kenya. That is why in other jurisdictions like the US, where they have the jury, what they do is during the time when a case is active, they pick up a jury and lock them somewhere else where there is no TV, there is no communication with the outside world, so that after they have made a decision. Now, these people are showing us that they read newspapers. These people are showing, they're showing us that they can be influenced by both the mainstream press and the alternative press. They are supposed to know about what is happening there, but act as if they do not know what is happening. So it was, and you see, they were unfair to deny him his source of income. He has cases, like that case of the 94-year-old lady. Now this lady has not wronged the Supreme Court. But what has the Supreme Court done? It has denied her the right of a lawyer of her own choice. They have told her that she can have any other lawyer apart from this person. They have denied the Grand Mulla his source of income. The last time I checked is that he only has a law firm. And he was talking of trying to raise up some camels in the later times. So they have denied him a source of livelihood. They have denied him his constitutional right of working in anywhere, any place of Kenya. That is why I am against that. And again, there is this danger of bringing in, you see, there are sometimes when you are attacked, you see, a lot of people maybe do not read Grand Mulla's tweets. Now people are going there. It's like when Mo used to log this newspaper, which was called Beyond, which was a church newspaper. And it so happened that whenever the few copies could appear, people would rush and buy them. But if you ignore them, people will not even know that there is a newspaper called Beyond. So a lot of people will now try to do what? Well, they'll try to listen to and read Grand Mulla's tweets. But is he innocent? I grade Grand Mulla as the Muthaiga age mates. Muthaiga age mates are people of my age whom we grew up with, but they were born and bred in Muthaiga. And even after we completed school and took on our own professions, the Muthaiga people, whenever you meet, you could even see they carry on their airs. I've met him a few occasions, and the kind of characteristics he gives, he has a lot of hairs. He has a lot of pride. He doesn't bring himself to. I've gone across people like Senior Counsel Paul Muite. Others. You can find that when you meet with Muite, the voice and the picture, you see him and know he's Muite, but he'll talk to you. He'll bring himself low to your level. But the number of times I've met Grand Mulla is he gives that Negro, you know, the Kenyans maybe who are born in New York and then they came, you say, they talk, he doesn't want to be seen to be a Kenyan, he wants to be seen whatever. Grand Mulla was educated in Northeastern, and when he came to the city for his A-levels, he never knew there was anything like a lawyer or anything. But when he was doing his Form 6, a teacher looked at the way he used to reason and asked him if he could be a lawyer. He asked, what is a lawyer? That is when he was told, and that is when he joined the law school. He's a bright mind. He's a bright legal mind. He was actually, there was even a time he was elected the dean of School of Law, and there was a problem that he was elected when he was young in two ways. He was young in age and he was young in experience, but he taught law in the university so well. Later on, he was the representative of Law Society of Kenya in the initial recruitment of judges under the new constitution. But then during that vetting and recruiting judges in the new constitution, he was high-handedly. And he could make judges feel small. He would tell somebody, and you could turn to, you see, we have some of these people like, I can't remember the judges, but the age mates of Haminwa. These are people who were judges with a bachelor's degree, and you could ask, what did you get your bachelor's degree? He said, I got just a pass. He said, but that is like a D-. You see, it may be like a D-, yes, but the time when somebody who is now in 80s was made a judge, those days getting even a bachelor's degree was a bit hard. But as an intelligence officer, I can conclude that he was high-handed to those judges, because if you see the way he has been acting, even after that, because he served his term as a LSK representative and went back to his law firm. He went back, and whenever he appears before those judges, there is usually that thing, the feeling that I recruited you and whatever, superiority complex. And that one brings to my final comment, whereby I think some lawyers should cease acting in law. For example, there are those people who are on the Judicial Service Commission. We have a magistrate who represents magistrates. We have two lawyers, one female, one male, who represent LSK in the panel of the Judicial Service Commission. Now look at this case. Recently, we had Justice Koome being installed as Chief Justice. She attended a Judicial Service Commission interview where one of the panelists was a magistrate representing other magistrates. Now, if that magistrate who represents other magistrates in the Judicial Service Commission is interviewing you for the position of High Court judge, and then she or him makes a determination, how do you feel if the person who is grieved with her judgment or his judgment takes the case to a high court where the judge was interviewed by this magistrate? How does somebody feel if you go to court with a lawyer and this lawyer is the one who employed that judge? I think the Law Society representative on the Judicial Service Commission And the magistrate's representative should be people who have retired or whom, upon being elected, should retire so that they do not go back to law courts. I think with that one, those are my few remarks. Thank you.